to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the report of closed session. We voted 5-0, and I will turn this over to Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam President. So, as Ms. Ibarra mentioned in closed session, Delia Carreras was appointed as interim assistant principal at Corona High School, effective date tomorrow. I know Delia is here in the audience. Delia, we want to congratulate you. She's been a teacher for the last 9 years at Roosevelt, correct? And has served in the district in a number of capacities, and we congratulate you on joining the team over at Corona High School. Yeah, did you have some family that joined you here?
I'd love to. This is my husband, Gus, and this is my son, Gregory, and my son, Ken.
Okay, we will move to adoptions of the meeting. October 1st, 2019, regular meeting. Is there a motion and a second to adopt?
Second.
All in favor, please vote. Okay, now we will vote on board study session. Is there a, October 15, 2019, is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
All in favor? Please vote. And we also had a meeting on October 22nd, special board meeting, workshop. So is there a motion? Please vote. Okay, thank you. I would like to thank the staff and communications for taping tonight's meeting and posting on the district website. Special recognition with the statewide academic and leadership award recipient. I will go to Dr. Lisa Simon.
Thank you, President Ibarra and the board. Oh, there we go. Thank you. This is a special night tonight, and we are recognizing a few students. The Puente Project is a national award-winning program that has helped tens and thousands of educationally disadvantaged students enroll in four-year colleges and universities, earn degrees, and return to the community as leaders and mentors to future generations. This began in 1981. Puente combines accelerated instruction, intensive academic counseling, and community leadership opportunities. On October 2nd, 2019, the Puente Project announced their annual Puente Statewide Academic and Leadership Award recipients. An impressive 158 students throughout California sent in applications that were thoroughly reviewed for academics, community leadership, and personal statements. In order to be considered for this award, applicants had to meet the following eligibility criteria. Must have been in Puente English, overall academic GPA of 3.5 or higher, be a full-time 12th grade student enrolled in 5 or more academic courses, and demonstrate community leadership. The Puente Project statewide office recognizes the following CNUSD students for their exemplary leadership spirit and outstanding academic achievement. So we have 3 students we are going to call up, and we're going to start with Bianca del Rosario from Centennial High School. Our second student is Braulu Armenta. And the student is from Corona High School. our final student tonight is Daniela Raquel de Rones from Roosevelt High School. And they can take their picture with you if you'll go over right in front of the board. And while they do that, if we can give our students another round of applause, please.
Okay, Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. Judy.
Thank you, Madam President. I moved tonight, so I'm down here. At this time, I would like to call to the podium a teacher from Lincoln Fundamental Elementary School, Megan Smith, and her principal, Brian Leedy. Now, we had Megan recognized last year because she for just her outstanding work, and also she had state recognition in the area of math. But now she's back at the podium being recognized and honored for winning a national award in the area of math. And so we have asked Megan to maybe say a few words about the process and her experience, and also if Principal Leedy could say a few words on her behalf as well.
Thank you, Mr. DeBar and the school board. It was quite a process for Megan. I do want to say that I did receive a text a few weeks ago at a softball practice from Megan, which I get quite frequently, and usually they're for something fun. But she was telling me for a good week that I have a family emergency next week. I need to be gone for a few days, and this. Well, is anything you need, whatever you need, by all means, go ahead. And I get a picture of her in DC. So sorry, I couldn't tell you. So she took the confidentiality to the highest level. I didn't tell anyone. So very proud of her, and I don't want to take any more of your time. I want Megan to take your time. So.
Right. I know not very many of you know me. Those that you do know I'm not very good at a few words, so I have a few to share, but I'll talk as quickly as I can. So good evening, and I appreciate the opportunity tonight to be recognized and also to share some highlights from my recent Paints Award. That's how you say it, I just learned that. Lake Night hosted Letterman used to have a segment called the Top 10 List. So in that spirit, I give you the top 5 moments of my Paints adventure. So number 5 is the Federal Partners Expo. So this was an opportunity where representatives from organizations such as the National Science Foundation, NASA, Smithsonian, Library of Congress, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, provided information about programs and resources to support teachers and students in STEM education. Also on hand was Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, and she gave some remarks concerning the importance of quality STEM education in all schools and equitable STEM education. Highlight number 4 was the award ceremony in the Yates Auditorium at the Department of the Interior. Fleming Krim and Dr. Karen Marangel of the NSF, National Science Foundation, joined Dr. Kelvin Drogemeyer at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. I learned a lot of acronyms while I was there too. They have acronyms for everything. In presenting our certificate signed by the President. I have that here to share with you. It was only after the fact that I could truly appreciate the honor of the ceremony, because at the time my focus was 1, not being sick from nerves, and number 2, not falling, and I'm happy to report that I was successful in both areas. Highlight number 3 was dinner at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. The Paints organizers truly rolled out the red carpet. Literally, we walked down a red carpet as we entered the event. It was really special. The dinner was held on the top floor of the Kennedy Center, which boasts 360-degree views of the city, enormous chandeliers, and tables with more forks than any human being could possibly be expected to know how to use. Keynote speakers included Maria Claw, president of Harvey Mudd College, and also Joan Farini-Mundi, president of the University of Maine. Both women reflected on developments in STEM education over the past decade, particularly for women and people of color. Highlight number 2 was the White House Federal STEM Education Summit. Members of the National Science and Technology Council, including Dr. Drogemeyer, Mike Kincaid, Administrator for NASA's Office of STEM Engagement, and Cindy Hasselbring, Senior Policy Advisor for the Office of Science and Technology Policy, gave awardees an opportunity to review and contribute to a newly updated, literally they printed it that morning, document called Charting a Course for Success, America's Strategy for STEM Education. Awardees from each state were asked to comment on the status of STEM education at their state level, district, and school site levels as well. And incredibly, we were also given an opportunity to provide feedback and recommendations to the panel, who made additions and changes in real time to the document. So really a powerful opportunity to be heard and validated. And then number 1 highlight was the Presidential Alumni Breakfast at the historic Willard Hotel. More chandeliers, lots more forks, but most importantly, a challenge. Kimberly Rimby, a president for the Council of Presidential Awardees in Mathematics, shared this quote from Dr. Maya Angelou: "Do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better." Excuse me. In a room full of arguably some of the best STEM educators in the nation, you could see every single one of us truly humbled and motivated by her words, and a reminder that there's always room to grow, to better our practice, and to refine our skills. And so my hope is that as a district, we'll take these words to heart, to not allow ourselves to be complacent with good enough or even satisfied with being the best, but to be striving for better, for the better that our students deserve. Thank you.
Recognition goes to an outstanding teacher from Parada Elementary. So I would like to call her to the podium at this time, along with her principal. So we have our teacher, Veronica Perez, and Dr. Erica Jensen, principal at Parada Elementary School. Dr. Jensen's here to say a few words on her behalf, and she can explain more than we can about the amazing things this teacher does above and beyond the classroom.
She's already crying. Veronica is a second grade dual immersion teacher at Rod Elementary School, and we are extremely blessed to have her on our campus. In addition to everything that she does for our dual language immersion students, including coordinating and facilitating our Fiestas Patrias event, which has become a huge community event in Eastvale. She spends a lot of time traveling outside of the country to buy costumes and supplies and working with parents, coordinating with vendors, and really has been an integral part in making that a successful event for not only our students, but the students at River Heights and the high school as well. She also runs our ELAC, and not only does she work to support the needs of our English learners in Spanish, but she really has done a great job in supporting the needs of our English learners in Mandarin as well, and has done a lot of hard work to reach out to those communities and include those parents in all that we do at our school. Additionally, Mrs. Perez serves on our school site council, where she supports the work that we do in writing our single plan and how we spend our funds at our school to support the growth of our students. Not only does her dedication to her job extend beyond the classroom, but it also extends beyond national borders, as she recently has had the opportunity to collaborate with dual immersion teachers in Mexico and worked with them for 4 days and growing their programs and how they can better support students. So with that, I will turn it over to the fabulous Mrs. Perez.
I cry even for commercials, so I'm sorry. I'm crying. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say a couple of words in English and in Spanish because I invited my dual students and because they're recording for my parents. Okay. I am honored to receive this award. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the leadership of Corona Norco who has provided me with the tools necessary to perform my job. I'm surrounded by great leadership who empower me and push me to do better. Thank you to my dual parents and students for opening your hearts to me. Your trust and love means a lot. Thank you to my family for being supportive when I'm late to dinner or when I don't cook dinner, which is a lot of times, and for always supporting me with my vision and helping me fulfill those ideas that go beyond the classroom and into the community. Last but not least, I'm very thankful for all the life lessons my parents taught me. They always instilled in me to be a hard worker. I'm a crybaby, I'm sorry. Show dedication in all that you do. Always be responsible while demonstrating respect and honesty. This award is not just for me, but it's for all that have crossed my path and helped me in one way or another. So I'll be in Spanish. Me siento honrada de recibir este reconocimiento. Me gustaría aprovechar esta oportunidad para agradecer al liderazgo de Corona Norco que me ha brindado las herramientas necesarias para realizar mi trabajo. Estoy rodeada de un gran liderazgo que me apoya y me empuja a mejorar. Gracias a mis padres de doble inmersión y estudiantes por abrirme sus corazones. Su confianza y amor significan mucho. Gracias a mi familia por apoyarme cuando llego tarde a cenar o cuando no cocino la cena, que en realidad es en muchas ocasiones, y por apoyarme siempre con mis ideas y ayudarme a cumplir esas ideas que van más allá del aula y ayudan a la comunidad. Por último, estoy muy agradecida por todas las lecciones de la vida que mis padres me enseñaron. Siempre me inculcaron trabajar duro, mostrar dedicación en todo lo que hago, ser siempre responsable y demostrar respeto y honestidad con todos. Este premio no es solo para mí, sino para todos los que se han cruzado en mi camino y me han ayudado de una forma u otra. Gracias. Thank you.
We're all type babies too. So yeah, we're good.
Ready, 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Now we have a presentation to the board, Measure GG Citizens Oversight Committee, Mr. Alan Jacks.
Thank you, President Ibarra. At this time, staff would like to move this presentation to a future board meeting rather than tonight.
The extraordinary audit by the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistant Team, Dr. Lin.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to invite the Deputy Superintendent from the Riverside County Office of Education, Dr. Edwin Gomez, to provide that report. Thank you for being here this evening, Dr. Gomez.
Thank you very much. I think we have a PowerPoint, and I think we can post that right here. Good evening, Board President Ibarra, trustees, Dr. Lin. Tonight, I am representing Dr. Judy D. White, our county superintendent, and I am presenting the FICMAT Extraordinary Audit Report. And this audit was conducted to examine the irregular business practices between the former Assistant Superintendent of Facilities, Mr. Ted Rossi, and the Chief Executive Officer of Neff Construction, Ed Moreau. Neff Construction is a contractor company that has worked with the Corona Norco Unified School District for numerous years on multiple construction projects. This audit report was publicly released on the FICMAT website on Friday, November 8th, and it is available for the public to review. By presenting this report this evening, the county superintendent is fulfilling her statutory requirements of presenting the FICMAT Extraordinary Audit to the Board of Trustees within the 45-day time period as stipulated by the code. Tonight, I do have 9 slides that I want to share with you, and we'll start with this one. As we all know, FICMAT is the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team. It was created in 1991 through AB 1200, and the main purpose of FICMAT is to ensure that districts meet and sustain their financial obligations by providing LEAs with ongoing professional development, workshops, audits, and other tools. As mentioned, one of the major functions of FICMAT is its ability to conduct the extraordinary audit as mandated by Education Code 1241.5. I do want to mention that extraordinary audits, once again, are implemented if there is suspicion of malfeasance, fraud, and it's done at the discretion of the county superintendent. This next slide denotes the chronology of events that triggered this AB 139 audit on the Corona Norco Unified School District. So back in May of 2017, 2 staff members from the Facilities Department found irregular checks that were issued to the former Assistant Superintendent Ted Rossi by Neff Construction. On July 13th, after numerous investigations and information gathering by these 2 employees, reported their preliminary findings to the Sheriff's Office and also to the CNUSD Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. On August 14th, after being questioned about these irregular checks, Assistant Superintendent Ted Rossi resigned. On or about August 14th, 2017, the county superintendent was notified of these irregular transactions, and because of that, she initiated the extraordinary audit and began the conversations with FICMAT to conduct this report. During the duration of this extraordinary audit, FICMAT reviewed, analyzed, and examined business records, general ledgers, purchasing activity, change orders, change order proposals, change order authorizations, board policy, emails, and many other variables to determine if alleged fraud took place. And this slide illuminates the major AB 139 findings. The first finding that I want to draw to your attention is the fact that questionable check transactions did indeed take place between Mr. Rossi and Mr. Moreau. Numerous checks were made by Neff Construction to non-district vendors at the request of Ted Rossi without proper documentation to explain the purpose and the disbursement of these funds. It was found that these credit cards were actually deposited to Ted Rossi's credit card accounts. The amounts of the transactions totaled about $2.6 million that were illegally received from Neff Construction. In addition to that, it is believed that these funds were withdrawn from the Corona Norco District's construction accounts. The second major finding documents that Rossi requested checks from Ed Moreau, the president of Neff Construction, via email. After Ted Rossi made these requests, checks were hand-delivered to Mr. Rossi by Ed Moreau himself. These checks were made to non-vendor banks like Bank of America, Chase Bank, Citibank, AT&T, Wells Fargo, and Union Bank. In summation, the major findings of this extraordinary audit illustrate that irregular and suspicious practices were taking place within the Facilities Department and point to the possibility that the district might have been defrauded by Ted Rossi and Ed Moreau. Now, in addition to the findings noted in the extraordinary audit, FICMAT brought a couple of points of consideration that I believe need to be highlighted. And the first one is the lack of internal controls, which created an organizational weakness in the system of checks and balances, which might have contributed to how the alleged fraud might have taken place. Secondly, the county superintendent's audit was hindered by lack of timely access to documents from parties involved and subsequent actions not taken. And lastly, the audit was conducted with the support of the district attorney, and they worked hand in hand with the FICMAT auditor in developing this report. Now, as I'm about to conclude this presentation, it is important for me to convey to the audience, to the public, that the existence of fraud is solely the purview of the courts and the jury. FICMAT will not make statements that can be construed as a conclusion that fraud has occurred. Nevertheless, based on the evidence, based on the facts that were presented in this audit, there is sufficient evidence to demonstrate that fraud, misappropriation of funds and/or assets, or other illegal fiscal activities may have occurred in the areas reviewed. In conclusion, because of these facts and the evidence found in the report, the county superintendent does determine that sufficient evidence exists that fraud has taken place. The county superintendent shall notify the state controller, the state superintendent of public instruction, and also present this report to the local district attorney. And in conclusion, my last slide for tonight's presentation. Now that I have given this report to the Board of Trustees, the board has no later than 15 calendar days to notify the county superintendent of its proposed actions on the county superintendent's recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Lin.
Thank you, Madam President. First, I'd like to again say thank you to the County Office of Education for the diligence in providing the extraordinary audit report to us. And along with that, I want to say again, congratulations. I don't know if Megan Smith is still in the audience. Megan, no, she left. Congratulations. This was quite an honor. I know she kept the secret in a very, very discreet manner. But she visited the White House, and this is a big, big honor, not only to her. I said to Ms. Smith, this is a big honor for CNUSD. So she's just very, very humble. So I want to say congratulations again to her. I certainly want to congratulate also Delia Trio for being appointed this evening as the interim assistant principal. Delia has been serving Roanoke Unified School District for a number of years, and also has been a parent within the school district, so we're happy to see her in that promotion. I'd like to share with the board, I had a couple of events that we're celebrating. I see many of you there this past week, including the Principal 4-Day event that which took place last Wednesday. Always great to see partnership from our community, and I'm looking at Lexus, did a great job emceeing that whole entire event. I want to tell you, Alexis, and I know I speak for everyone, our board, our executive cabinet, and everyone involved, obviously including our principals too. The demonstration, the leadership from our students, with you being the coordinator for that particular morning on Wednesday, was extraordinary. I mean, you guys remind us why we do what we do. And it was just fabulous to see our future leaders in action. So again, I want to say congratulations and using my report to highlight that. And great job, well done. Friday, this past week, we also had the opportunity to celebrate the ribbon cutting for one of the brand new schools that we have added to our school district, and that is the East End Academy over at Roosevelt. As you know, the door opened in this early August. And we continue to have students enjoy in each and every day, not only just the facilities, but certainly with quality teaching that comes along with that. And again, I mentioned this before, a big thank you to our CTE director, Dr. Gina Boster, for providing numerous equipment that goes within the building to make learning and teaching in today's CTE environment possible. Lastly, I'd like to invite the board to visit this Sunday, actually the 17th of November, Sunday at 3 p.m. with San Diego High School. We're going through another 6-year WASC review. And as you know, as a school district, when we look at the high school, especially the 6-year full cycle review, we look at that and take that very seriously. So I think that your presence, if you're able to be there, we'll send you a specific invitation with locations and time in the near future. But if you can make it, we'd love to have you there. Our executive cabinet will be there as well to support this endeavor as we go through our WASC accreditation. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
For public hearing 7, A and B, at the request of the landowner, the hearings in connection with the proposed Community Facilities District Number 18-1 of the Corona Norco Unified School District are continued to December 17, 2019. Student report, please.
Thank you, Madam President. At our meeting last week, we discussed November or December events. So Centennial has a canned food drive in November, and they just had an assembly, which was class versus class, and it was an outside assembly. It was centered around spirit, and they will also have a winter formal, and they are still deciding the theme. Roosevelt had a winter formal reveal, which was Tangled theme, last Friday, and they have a rally in January. And they are bringing back Winter Fest, and they just had a recent homecoming and sold over 2,000 tickets. Norco has a canned food drive in December, and they work with the prison on the canned food drive, and they have no winter assembly, and their winter formal is in January. JFK has a canned food drive next week. They have no dances, and they have Distress Fest activities after school and turned it into an assembly, and they have a joint winter formal with Norco High. Santiago had a Japan visit, and they exchanged gifts and help. And November 15th, they have Mrs. and Mr. SHS for juniors and seniors, and they are also doing a Winter Fest, and they have a winter rally in December. Corona has a canned food drive starting next week, and they will be dividing up into teams. November 6th is the blood drive. October 19th is God ASB, and winter is Leadership Row, and we bring food and desserts. We also discussed Principal for a Day that day and ideas for activity prizes, such as ASB cards, merch, and HOCO tickets. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Now the board member reports, I'm going to start with Dr. Lawless.
Together with all of the board members and the cabinet and superintendent, we all went to the ribbon cutting at the East Bay STEM Academy, and that's really a big thing for us for the school district. I also attended the Teachers of the Year Award, where we recognized our outstanding teachers at each school. Also, the 4 finalists will be participating at the county and the state level. I've done a couple of meetings with principal and assistant principal in some of the schools in San Bernardino and Riverside County on equity in the classroom. We had a good conversation. There's some nearly 100 people and some 7 principal and assistant principal talking about how do you really do equity in the classroom. All right, on November 21st, hosted by the Riverside County School Board Associations, I have been invited to host a conversation on equity, and it will be held at the County Office of Education in Riverside. In December, on December 7 to 9, we will be presenting at the California School Board Association on community partnership in developing equity policy. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam President. Like Dr. Wallace mentioned and Dr. Lynn, the East Stem ribbon cutting ceremony was quite exciting, and it was great to see that campus and what our students are going to do. It's pretty amazing. I say that those students have more than what I had in medical school. I'm jealous. But I'm also very, very excited for the future and what they're going to accomplish. A couple of events that I was able to attend, and I guess the conclusion I wanted to make was our collaboration with the community, getting the community involved. One is a college and career kickoff. Was wonderful. Hats off to everybody who really got that going. I was able to see some things at Santiago and see some community members, some active partners be involved, and see our students absorb a lot of the knowledge from what we have in our community, from police, from medical, from engineering. It was wonderful. And then the second, as Dr. Lynn alluded to, was a principal for the day. I was fortunate enough to be at Stallings Elementary, where my kids are alumni, I guess. I want to thank Dr. Strausser for that time. But in the morning, seeing again the community involvement and the community partnership and the district getting together with the community, I think that's so important. I really want to strengthen that bond with our community as best we can. That's my part.
Good evening. I also attended the ribbon cutting just in my back door. What a wonderful school. However, I also went with Mary. We went to Corona, had a health forum. And thank you to Dr. Gina Boster, who sent buses for Vicentia went, Arbandale went, and River Heights went to also see what they have available at Corona High School. It was a very impressive program. Also, I went to Reagan, and in Eastvale, they're doing a roundabout teaching the parents in the community what they can do for their children. So they had a program for DLI in Mandarin, DLI for Spanish, and they also talked about bullying and texting and a lot of good things that each month, I guess, they're circulating around in Eastvale. So if you have an opportunity, please participate in that. It was a very good program to witness. But what touched my heart this time around was that Mary and I and Dr. Buenrostro went to Mexico on behalf of our district, and we went through CABE, California Association of Bilingual Educators, to see schools that are on the border and how they're different from the kids that are sent down into Mexico because their parents are undocumented for a variety of reasons, and see what's going on with their education once they're on the border. And so we visited 2 schools there. Unfortunately, they're not getting the same education, and this breaks my heart, because here's some kids that were born in America that have to go across the border, and we actually listened to some of their concerns, and some of their concerns were, first of all, they're coming into a country that they don't speak the language. They do not have ELD there. And so they're just swimming or sinking. And a lot of kids want to come back, but of course they can't for various reasons. However, we're looking at how we can help. And that was the premise of why we went. So it was enlightening, it was enriching, and at least we have hope. So we want to keep going back, participating in that. We do have some teachers that are learning the GLAD process through CABE. We saw that fruition at that school in Chula Vista, and it's a really great program. So again, we need to take care of our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to hit on 2 everybody's already hit on, but I just want to say congratulations once again to Alexis and her team. It was 2 years ago or 3 years ago that we took it out of our hands and we gave it to our students for the principal for a day. And no offense, but you can take it that way, and I've already said it to you, but it's better. You guys are just so innovative, and it's walking the walk and talking the talk, and it's so engaging. And quite frankly, our community, I appreciate what Bill said about our community members. I think then they get to really see what quality of students we're putting out in our district. I mean, what they're capable of doing is just incredible. I mean, you know, I think back of any of you in this room at, how old are you, Alexis? I'm sorry, here, 17. You know, Mike with a bunch of people in suits, men and women, 300. I don't think any of us probably would have done it, but you did it, you carried it along with your team, and you had them go through a great process with us, and it was just a great event. And then the eSTEM, the building is magnificent. What's happening there, all the different pathways that students could possibly take. But there again, the most engaging part was our docents were the students. And I don't know, I think we all had an opportunity to interact with them, and man, they were just on it. You know, sometimes it can be a little difficult for a student, 16, 17 years old, to come up to an adult, but they were just doing it. And then I had an opportunity after we were all done and talked to a bunch of them as they were eating at the table, and you know, they all stopped. They don't know who I am. And put down their food, and I just had a great conversation. It was just so enlightening and so encouraging, and you know, we've had a tough week, so it was just a really great shot in the arm to be able to get grounded and get back to where we're at, and they were just so wonderful. So thank you.
Well, majority of us went to the same places, so I'm not going to talk about that, but nobody talked about joining the march against bullies. So what we do here at the district, it's a day where everybody wears orange. We pretty much parade around the street. Cars are honking, and we have signs, say no to bullies, just to get the awareness out there. It's a pretty good morning, and it's bright and early. And all the staff here comes in early, and it was a good day. I also attended the Admin Teacher Induction Advisory Committee meeting, which each month that I go, I learn more and more and more about what teachers do. And they're amazing. Our teachers are amazing. I also visited Vicentia Elementary during their storybook parade. So we don't call it Halloween parade, it's the storybook parade. And the kids are dressed like books, and they have to bring the book with them. Otherwise, I don't know what happens, but they all have their little books with them, you know. So you look at the book and say, yeah, your costume looks just like that. I also visited Todd Academy. They had an assembly with the DEA, and I became an honorary DEA officer. And sir, I would never wear that vest. They put it on me, I almost fell over. It was really heavy, and then they wanted me to walk to the middle of where the assembly was and show the kids, and it was like, well, I can barely walk. But it was eye-opening. The kids really liked it, and I guess a parent that they know brought in the DEA. They had the dog there. They had the guy suit up in that big suit, and the dog was all over him. And then the officer that was telling the story or talking to the kids was amazing. He was talking right to the kids, and the kids, their eyes were just like, wow, you know. So, and he said that we do need more female DEA officers. So anybody out there that would like to be a DEA officer, they have openings. So, okay, we will move on. CNTA is not going to be here tonight, so CSEA.
Good evening, President Ibarra and school board members, Dr. Lynn and cabinet members. On October 17, 2019, CSEA brought forward the job study MOU for ratification. The results were as follows. Yes, 221, no 383. A total of 604 members came out to vote. The outcome of that MOU was very contentious. Classified employees felt very unappreciated because the district wanted to decrease many classification ranges, which is the amount of pay per hour. As employees seek promotion opportunities, that decrease would affect their pay schedule. More responsibility for less money. This decision caused many people to see that CNUSD believes some positions do not deserve the pay they are currently receiving. In regards to the job study MOU, it will move forward through the negotiations process. Wages and healthcare benefit negotiations. CSEA met with CNUSD on October 10th to discuss wages and benefits. We did not come to an agreement. CSEA and CNUSD preliminarily voted for a 1% increase to the salary schedule and a 1% one-time payout dispersed over 7 payments. However, we are still not in agreement on the benefits cap increase, which is $300 increase per month on the health care benefits cap. The health care cost to classified members is overwhelming. Some members work to cover the cost of health care only. Their entire paycheck goes to cover their health care cost. This situation makes members feel very undervalued. We are scheduled to meet on November 20th, 2019, and once again, CSEA Chapter 369 asks for your support. Thank you, everyone. And at this time, I would like to thank all our classified employees that have come to show support. So will you please stand up?
Okay, we are moving on now to public comment. At this point in our agenda, we invite the public to address the board. Please limit remarks to 3 minutes or less. Comments will be timed. I remind the audience that this is a public session of the board and not a meeting of the public. Although the board will not respond to speakers directly, either during public comments or after the meeting, staff members may contact or follow up with written communications. If multiple speakers address the same subject, I may request that the subsequent speaker only add new information. The time limit for given topic is 20 minutes, regardless of the number of speakers. If a speaker wishes to be heard on more than 3 topics, the speaker will be allowed a total of 10 minutes to address all desired items. Persons who have complaints against employees of the district are encouraged to seek resolution of those complaints by utilizing the district's written complaint procedure rather than orally addressing them at a meeting. Please refrain from applauding after each speaker. Public comment is now open. Jenny Molina.
Tengan todos ustedes buenas noches, cuerpo directivo y personal presente. Mi nombre es Jenny Molina, soy madre del estudiante de educación especial Christopher Oviedo, curso el 3er año en Highland. Después de mi última visita a la reunión del board meeting, me sentí intimidada y acosada por defender durante 5 años los derechos educativos y el bienestar del estudiante Christopher Oviedo. Llegando al punto de que la escuela Parchis tratara de sacar al estudiante de la escuela, incluso por mi imposibilidad.
She gets 6 minutes by law if she's a translator.
Good evening. Governing Board. Okay. My name is Jenny Molina. mother of minor Christopher Oviedo,
estudiante de educación especial,
a student of special education,
tercer grado en la escuela Highland Educación.
assisting at Highland Elementary School.
Después de mi última visita a este bonito board meeting, me sentí intimidada
At my last board meeting, I felt intimidated and threatened
por defender los derechos educativos, participar o estudiar.
because I defended the rights of the student Christopher Oviedo,
Llegando a un punto en que la escuela Parkhurst trataba de sacar a los estudiantes
and it were the school at Park Ridge tried to tried to take out the student from the school,
incluso el distrito por mi imposibilidad de llevar al dueño de la propiedad a decir que yo vivo en migración actual.
and that the district did not allow me to take the owner of where I lived to say that I lived at that property.
A pesar de tener pruebas de servicios públicos,
Even though I had proof of utility bills of living at that property,
talones de cheques de mi trabajo y licencia de conducir con dirección actual.
also check stubs and a driver's license.
No fue suficiente para el director de Parkhurst.
That was not enough proof for Park Ridge principal.
Agradezco al señor Buenrostro y al señor Carlos Sánchez
I'm grateful to Mr. Buenrostro and Pablo Sanchez.
Después de llevar mi carta y las pruebas de dirección,
After taking my letter and my proof of residence,
pruebas anteriormente que fueron suficientes para
That
que
I-
Christopher Oviedo pudiera continuar en
that I mentioned before, so that Christopher Oviedo could continue attending.
Rechazo la actitud del señor
I refuse the attitude of
Edith Clement y la señora Kristen Tharp,
Mr. Clement and Christian Tharp,
los cuales predeterminan una decisión sin estudiar antes los factores que conllevan,
who predetermined
predeterminan una decisión
the decision
sin estudiar los factores que conllevan a una decisión
without reviewing the things that would take you to make a decision
que debe ser evaluada en beneficio para el estudiante de educación especial.
that should be evaluated for the benefit of a special education student,
Los cuales no sometieron a la educación para retirar los servicios de transportación del estudiante.
who
Los cuales no sometieron a la educación.
who did not submit to special education,
Retirar los servicios de educación del estudiante.
to take away the student services because the student could walk
Recibir su comida en la cafetería. Recibir su comida en la cafetería.
and to receive his meals at the cafeteria.
No entiendo sus reacciones, no teniendo en cuenta sus reacciones inesperadas en
I'm not understanding their reasons
típico de un menor autista, el
to
autonomía movimiento. Su reacción fue de menor autista en una
of the resources that are for a child, for autistic child, in a car that is moving.
problemas para controlarse del mismo y su imposibilidad para mantenerse.
And to be able to be sitting still and to be safe
Por el mismo, sin correr riesgo, llegar seguro,
Without- and to be safe going to and from school.
Agradezco el nuevo equipo de trabajo de la escuela Highland.
I am grateful to the new team at Highland Elementary because I feel that we're on the same page in benefit of the education of minor in special education. So that he can benefit from an education that corresponds to him. I'm grateful for the evaluation and the reports and their efforts in having a plan for the benefit of the student and to benefit the progress of the same child. I am grateful to Alicia Martin, principal at Highland. Gloria Abadesa is program specialist. Carrie Burns, assistant principal. Shannon D'Amico, speech and language pathologist. Amber Street, occupational therapist. Rose Brooks, special education. I only want to say one more thing. It doesn't matter whether a child learns slowly. The important is to encourage him and give him the resources necessary so that he never stops learning. Thank you.
Next, Monica Landry.
Board of Education. Again, I'm the CSEA Labor Relations Representative for Corona Gospel Chapter 369. So I speak to you on behalf of all classified members, and if they will stand while I speak, that would be awesome. Again, I'm here to state that we've been in negotiations with the district, and this is now, we've had 8 sessions, and we started in April 2019, so last year, the beginning of the year, and we haven't come to an agreement. Again, the district has not offered anything more regarding the cost of the healthcare for our members. The district has offered 1% on salary and then an additional 1% one time, with exhausting contingency language regarding that one-time 1% monies. Why can't the district commit to 2% for a non-salary rate increase for our classified members? The CSEA's budget analysis done by state, our research analysis says your district's budget is healthy. During our last session, CSEA had to press the district to make additional percentage, that extra one-time stretch, so that it could impact the member's paycheck in a significant way. Why do we have to beg? Regarding the health and welfare, it was extremely disheartening with the district's behavior with the confusion erupted regarding CSEA's ask for $300 a month on the cap for their health and welfare. Apparently, it was news to the district throughout all the sessions that we have been, going back and forth in. So again, we're asking the school board for support. Everyone, teachers, management, and classified should be able to live in Corona Marco, make a decent wage, and not have to live to pay for their health care. Yeah. 2% of their yearly income, while our members can pay anywhere from 4% to 36% of their income for their health and welfare. That's unreasonable. Where is the equity in that? Classified needs a commitment from the board for lower health care and a decent rate increase. The district is at a crossroads in my viewpoint. What kind of employer does CNUSD want to be? employer that's going to help the classified members or do nothing. I thank you for listening to us again. These classified employees are the backbone of your district. There's close to 2,000 plus of them and about 300 substitutes. This is just the beginning. We need your support. Thank you.
Mr. Joe Morgan?
So I turned in 2 cards, one for 5B and one for 11. So I want to read a letter. I turned in a record request on October 7th. I asked for all audits or financial records that reflect any and all funds lost or suspected to be lost to criminal activity for the last 4 years from today's date, as well as all policy changes resulting from criminal actions by staff members for the same period of time, 10/7/15 to 10/7/19. I actually named specifically Mr. Rossi, and I named the FICMAT audit to Ms. Now's assistant. Specifically, I asked for the audit that was presented tonight. The response was, there are no public records in its possession and control of the district responsive to your request. This district is transparent as a 2x4. I want to know how things are going to change. This is the second time I've been lied to directly in writing by the district. I was lied to once by Ms. Now when she said, and she lied to you too, when she said that the board had no role or no oversight in the defense of cases. When records request reply said exactly the opposite, that you have a duty to participate. Now, I asked for the FICMAT audit. I asked for any other policy changes. I'm told there are no policy changes. There is no audit. This district has been involved in a cover-up for the last 2.5 years. You knew this happened. The district knew it happened. The administration happened. When you make a records request, what do? You have to go ask the people that are in charge of the cover-up to uncover what they're covering up. There's no accountability. There's no transparency. In a city, you would have a city clerk. You would have somebody who has professional obligations outside of the transparency process. They're entirely involved with transparency. That's their only job. Here, you have the people who orchestrate the cover-up, deciding that you don't need to know what happened. The taxpayers don't need to know. So you can sit on this, play it out, maybe some people retire, maybe some people go out of town, maybe it goes after the election. Meanwhile, so far it's 2.6. It was 1.4 the other day, it's 2.6 million this time. What's happening? What happened? What'd you do about it? Did you say anything to anybody? No, you didn't. You went along with the administration. It's more important to look good than to do the right thing. It's more important to try to cover it up, play it out as long as possible. At least $2.6 million. That's unacceptable. It's disgusting is what it is. And to have your attorneys lie in writing, okay? Public Records Act is not about, it's not court discovery. The Public Records Act says, I own the documents, he owns the documents, he owns the documents. There are documents. The documents belong to us. You have a duty to give them to us. If I say I want it,
your time has expired.
My time has expired for 1 item. I have 2 items. So if I say I want a document, it's your obligation. It's your obligation to give it to me. Okay? It's not about hiding the marble, hiding the sausage. Okay? This is about your obligation to be transparent and do the right thing and follow the law. And number 1, don't lie. Don't lie. Don't send things out to your attorney to have them lie. So, I'm going to file a complaint with the bar about this, because lawyers aren't supposed to lie, contrary to popular opinion. And then you folks, meanwhile, the administration does their thing, and when you follow along with it, well, who's up next November? That's you guys. It's your guys' name. It's your name that's on the line. The administration, they're going to go on. They're gonna retire with a really good salary, better than what you guys make for what you put in. Much better. They're gonna retire, they're gonna go their merry way. Doesn't matter what happens to you. I'm sure they don't want any harm to come to you. You know, they seem like decent people on the surface, but they orchestrated this cover-up, and it seemed like the board kind of went along with it. Your obligation is to, as I discussed at the last meeting, your obligation is to us. You're our school board. We elect you. We put you here. We empower you to do this job. Your obligation is to us. It's not to the district attorney's office. Your obligation is to be transparent and put this out. When people want to know what happened, it's not to go along with coercion and threats. Threaten to put people in jail, threaten to sue people, threaten to cost people their jobs if they talk about it. It's ridiculous. When the employee organizations ask for payroll documents, when they ask to know what people in administration make, oh, let's hide the sausage again. Let's, well, I can't tell you what anybody makes. That's private. It's not private, it's public. Your paychecks are public. They scratch off your social security number, your paychecks are public. The actual paychecks, your actual contract, the administration contract, every bit of that is public. And it ought to be right out there in the open. So as the offspring of a 30-some-year CSEA employee, when you guys are playing games with employees, I take that personally too. You're playing games. You know, when an employee organization asks for information, that's a record request. You ought to have some professional people in charge of it. You ought to give people what they ask for. That will be better for you. That will be better for the public. That will be better for everybody. When you shine a light, all the nasty stuff isn't as likely to happen. Or when it happens, you can disinfect it. You get out of it. Instead of engaging in a cover-up. Thank you very much. If anybody wants any copies of the letter, I've got plenty of copies. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. On behalf of the Board of Education, thank you for your comments. Although the board will not respond to your concerns at this time, please be assured that all comments are taken seriously. As I stated previously, a staff member will contact you or follow up with written communication. Okay, at this time, are there any items to be pulled from the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to pull 13D as in David. 13D as in David.
Jose? Lisa?
I'd like to pull on page 9, 14B. On page 26, 17L, M, N, I, S, and X. So on page 26, we start with 17L. So starting with page 26, on 17, okay, 17, okay, let me go back here, sorry. So, I'm sorry, it would go to, okay, so let's go, so page 29, excuse me. So on 29, so you have 17I, okay, then on the next page, on page 30, you have 17L, 17M, 17N. Next page, page 32. Okay, 17S. And the last one I'd like to pull is on page 34, 17X.
Mrs. Ibarra, President Ibarra, staff would like to pull 17W as in William.
What page?
That is on page 34, 17W, and 17X. Both of those items pertain to the formation of CFDs 18-1, and they will be brought back for consideration at the December 17th board meeting.
Out of the report.
Judy, did you get all that?
So, I have to do that.
Okay, we will start with 13D. 12A. Yes, let's move on. Well, okay, 13D.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, I wanted to pull this because I think it is in line with our discussion items E and F. And so I kind of wanted to pull it so it could be part of that discussion.
Okay.
If I may, Madam President, since this policy is connected with several items for action tonight regarding board policies, I'd like to defer to Dr. Simon and her division to maybe respond to the policies that are being approved tonight.
Thank you. And just to clarify, this policy is actually outdated. It was last adopted in July 1993, and it addressed abstinence education only. This policy, it's recommended that this policy be removed, and it's actually, the abstinence education piece is actually built in, if you will, or embedded into the new recommended board policy 6142.1, which we'll be talking about later.
Okay, well, and I just wanted to clarify that because it looked like it was reading that, but I just wanted to be sure.
Yes.
So.
Thank you.
Okay, we're not like completely getting rid of it.
No, our recommendation is to remove it, and the piece here with the abstinence, well, it is the abstinence education would be included in the 6142.
Okay, thank you.
So 13E, Dr. Sun? Yes, let's vote on 13D.
I move to accept the removal of 13D. Is that right?
Second.
Okay, let's vote. Okay, next, 13E. Who's 13E?
So this particular item has to do with your organizational meeting date. Effective this election year, AB 2449 established the second Friday as the day that a newly elected board member would officially take office. And so from that day, that second Friday, you have within 15 days to on a calendar to hold your organizational meeting. So this new law states that even though we don't have, on the years that you don't have any newly elected officials, they still ask that you follow the same guideline. So our original meeting that was scheduled for the second Tuesday of December would have taken place before the second Friday of December. So therefore, we have to move the December meeting to the third Tuesday of the month. So that's why we need to take action on this tonight to move the meeting to December 17th from December 10th.
We move the meeting to December
November 17th for our organizational meeting per the new law.
It went on and then went off again.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, so thank you again. This is the board policy 6142.1 that we talked about earlier, and I do have Mr. Peter Lum here this evening who will also address any questions you might have. This involves the policy on sexual health and HIV/AIDS prevention instruction. As you know, for well over 20 years, we have been providing this course for students in grades 7 through 12. And over time, there have been changes, in particular the California Youth Act, which is adopted by the state of California. And so this new, this revised board policy actually is in alignment with the California Healthy Youth Act. As you know, it is an ed code, and it addresses state mandated topics that you can see in detail in the policy proposal. And in addition to the state mandated topics of instruction, it also addresses the parent's right to opt out. Would you like me to go to the next policy, President Ybarra, or? Okay.
So let's vote on
Do we need a motion? I move.
Second.
Yes, and thank you, President Ybarra. This policy, board policy 6144, it is addressing teaching controversial issues. Again, this is coursework that we have been addressing over the years. It has been updated to make sure that it's addressing that all students can see themselves in the course. Also, the revised policy is aligned to the California School Boards Association gamut policy numbering structure. So you can see those changes as well. Just so you know that the instruction is concerning topics and that they shall be relevant to the adopted course of study and curricular goals, and should be designed to develop students' critical thinking skills, ability to discriminate between fact and opinion, learning and demonstrating respect for others, and understanding and tolerance of diverse points of view. Might you have any questions?
Yes, I have a question. So reading through that policy, and it talked about guest speakers in there. And so I'm using, let's say a high school as an example, and I don't know, we can pick whatever class we want. Who reviews, what's the process of getting a guest speaker? How is it approved? Who approves it? Does the site admin approve it, or does it go to the district? I just want to know, because if any teacher wants to have any guest speaker, I just want to make sure that we have.
Yes, and there is a process, and it does go through an approval process, and Mr. Lum can speak to that.
So the guest speakers for this are, the approval process would be through the board action. So that's on the consent item. So for example, some of the previous guest speakers we've had would be like Kaiser Permanente. They were on the consent items for tonight. So so we submit those for board approval to allow high schools to have the option to have them come in, and then the principal would approve for their site if they also want to have that. So it would have to be approved from both layers.
So you're saying we approve it then?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I have an additional, it triggered my interest in pulling this out. I think, again, I was at the STEAM Academy. The word critical thinking really jumps in me all the time, every time I hear that, because I teach that. I teach critical theory. And so when you talk about critical thinking in terms of our K-12 setting, what is critical about critical thinking?
I think one of the things we're teaching our students in the case of learning about controversial issues, we know our students are exposed to a lot of information, as an example, through the internet. And through the learning opportunities in this course, especially as it's represented in this policy, it provides students the opportunity to learn what's factual information and what's opinion, and really learning how to trust their gut and learn cues to make sure they don't become victims of things such as human trafficking and other kinds of things like that, which is also addressed in the policy. In this case.
How are we making sure that this is implemented? Is it attached to high school's teacher syllabus? Is it their syllabi? Is it covered? I'm concerned about it's good on paper, critical thinking. Is critical thinking the way we think psychologically and do those experiments like in STEAM, or do we mean critical thinking by getting more conscious about critically, socially situated social relations? We have social and emotional. Are we graduating kids who are kind, who are sensitive to the needs of others, who are sensitive to diversity? Because those are all types of critical thinking from a socially situated perspective, not the psychological that I'm seeing at STEAM, which is psychological. But how do we?
I really appreciate that question, because that is an area that we're working on through our professional development, especially when we're looking at our two pillars, the social emotional along with the academic. And specifically to this policy, when we're looking at the education that's taking place in our science and also in our health classes, it is really looking at demonstrating respect and understanding for diverse points of view. And so students are learning. And I think that's a journey that adult learners and students are learning together. So more information to come on that. I appreciate the question.
And to go along with that, when we talk about critical thinking, I think it's important, and I think that's why I wanted to find out the adoption of the guest speakers is, opposing viewpoints. I want to make sure that our speakers are giving the opportunity. Whenever we have if they're teaching controversial issues, there's more than one, obviously it's controversial, so I just want to make sure that the presentations look at all viewpoints and give the students the chance to be creative thinkers and to develop their own impression instead of being, obviously you talk about some issues like vaping, for example. Okay, well I don't think there should be an opposing ways, but other ways. And again, I say that I should probably look at that, because there's probably somebody who has an opposing viewpoint that they think is important. And so I think it's important to listen to that and then have the student be able to give their impression based on what they've learned. So I just want to make sure, I think that's part of, I'm glad Dr. Flowers brought that up, that we have the ability to have those speakers give all viewpoints.
Thank you.
I move to accept 13G.
Second.
Okay, I just have a question, actually a request, that when schools take children to these conferences or take them to an event, that the people that are taking them are certificated CNUSD teachers. Okay, so that's my request, that there is someone that is representing CNUSD and not someone that's maybe a walk-on person. That's my request. I move.
Second?
Which one are you on?
This is on page 9, 14, about requests for the,
Before we go there, I want some clarification because I know a lot of times it is teachers, but we're looking, if it's not all the time, we're looking to change policy, and I don't know that we can do that on this vote the way it was, no offense, but I think we're talking something that needs to be agendized, I think at a later date.
Yeah, Mr. Zigafus, indeed, I want to make sure that I'm clear too, because Ms. Monacan, if I understand you correctly, as item 14B,
on page 9.
On page 9, as an example, this is a rainy extended day field trip, right? And we have 19 female students going to science camp, 15 male students, 19 female students, 15 male students, and we have 4 adults, female supervisors, 2 adult male supervisors, I'm sure, on the camp. Usually they have other supervision as well, which are not part of the certificated staff. Our understanding is that when this comes through on these field trips, the 4 adult female supervisor and the 2 adult male supervisor are certificated staff. And so in addition to that, to these staff members, you could have other folks, for example, at a camp, that they're camp director types. And I think your point is well taken, that's make sure that we have a certificated staff there. If that's correct, Dr. Snyder, if you can confirm that.
But I think you bring up a good point. Just going to the next one, Centennial High School varsity basketball going to a tournament. Now, I know that their coach is a certificated coach, but maybe if you go to another sport that they might not have that. What I think we have to look at that, or at least a representative.
This is certificated.
Certificated or classified, I think would be appropriate.
Yes.
And we'll definitely double check that, but my understanding is they're always either a certificated or classified staff. Correct.
I'd still like.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just.
No, go ahead, Lisa.
No, I'm kind of jumping around here. Most of the time, correct. But I'm thinking of some of our athletic sporting teams where we have walk-on coaches. They may not be a certificated teacher, if you will.
Okay, so we'll definitely check that out.
Right. So getting back to my point, I don't think we can vote on, no offense, but the way you said it without, I want some background. I want to know for sure, because I have a feeling the answer is kind of probably not 100%. So if I think we need to
See the policy.
we need a new policy then,
If
but
that's
we
the
can't
case.
vote on that now because that's not on the agenda. So the way that Ms. Marqueen posed it, she said for all, that's changing policy. We can't do that because that's not on the agenda. If she wants to specify the one that she brought up on B, that's fine. But I don't think you can do a blanket, which is what that was.
Right. I think I'm saying the same thing, Mr. Z, because the particular item that's in action right now for vote is 14B, right? That's the field trip for raining. All the field trips, excuse me, right. And the policy piece, as Lisa's talking about, we'll make sure we check to bring back for future consideration. Is that a policy consideration, or are we saying the entire section for 14, we should bring back for future consideration? That's more clear, that's a clarification, that's a question actually.
Well, but then you run into,
That's
okay,
correct.
so.
That's correct. So it's a question for the
Yeah,
board.
so that's why I don't think you can vote on it that way.
Well, at this point, most of them are in the future, so we have time to look at those. The first 2, Rainy and Centennial, have to be decided tonight.
But
Because those are happening
we
soon.
have Orange Grove that's going.
Our next board meeting is the 17th.
Yes, that's, yeah, I understand. And Orange Grove.
It's a question for the board. It's your desire. You have 2 ways to go.
May I add one other item that might help? I'm kind of thinking of athletics right now, okay? Because like Dr. Lynn did say, when you're looking at Rainey Intermediate School, they are certificated teachers. But in some of these other areas where you have athletics, all the coaches their names go forward to the board for approval. They go through a process, they're checked in through HR, and then actually approved by the board. I don't know if you want to add to that, but I don't know if that helps, at least with those.
Well, the question is the walk-on coaches.
Looking at these items, I think they all have a certificated or a classified. So my feeling is we vote on this for the approval, but then we take your question to agendize and look at this. Because I'm looking at all these, and again, I think as Dr. Simon said, it's generally going to be athletics. And the only one I see on here is Centennial, and I know that they're certificated. And they're certificated and classified staff, I think both.
And I'm looking through it too, I agree. I don't think we're going to, but I think you just need to change the wording a little bit on your motion, that it be for the items that are on the calendar for this particular day. Does that make sense? And then we can look to do a more exploratory down the way as far as cleaning that up. Does that work for you?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because we've already had an incident, and I just don't want it to happen again. Okay, so that was my reason for this.
Yeah. No,
But if there's a certificate person, I have no problem with that. We're putting ourselves in jeopardy when we do that. So even if it was a CNUSD classified, as long as they're representative from CNUSD, they're certificated here, then I have no problem with that. But again, we do need to look at it. If it's a policy issue, we need to change that. So we can vote on it.
Change the motion.
Just restate the motion.
Restate it.
And within the motion, you can actually say that we'd like to bring something forward to do a more exploratory down the road. Does that work? Judy? Okay.
Dr. Lin, what is the current policy?
Thank you. So currently, the field trips that's coming to board for approval has always been this way. We have certificate or classified employee, correct, has supervision. In fact, the numbers in terms of ratio of students per male versus female is actually in the board policy. So what's before you in this particular section, they're all currently meeting the existing policy and past practice. What Ms. Montecchini is referring to is a very, very important note, and that is we want to be sure that our supervision is done by employee of the Corona Unified School District, not necessarily a certification from CTC, because we have plenty of great employees that are responsible both on the consummate and certificated side. The specific incident that Ms. Montecchini is referring to is a walk-on coach, and this walk-on coach actually happens to be a family member of an athlete to visit a school for an athletic scholarship, and that family friend happens to be a walk-on coach. So that's the difference, and we need to be absolutely certain that we don't prove that. But that particular situation, it doesn't come through your approval for a family to send one of their friends or an uncle or aunt, to accompany this youngster to move forward. So, point well taken, but tonight, going back to Dr. Lawless's question, this is absolutely following existing policy and practice for all of these field trips. And I do recommend that we move forward with them, but we need to come back and take a look at making sure that your point's well taken, that we are adding extra layers to protect our kids.
And add another point to that, and I'm going to interject now. I did talk to Dr. Benrostro, I think before, with some of the incidents that's happened. I also want to evaluate or bring forward later that this coaches conference and that we're doing, which I think is a wonderful thing. However, I was very disappointed this last one. There were not very many walk-on coaches. They said, "Oh well, they're all working." And well, if you're going to coach in our district, you can come to this. This has to be mandatory. So I want to look at making it mandatory for the walk-on coaches. So we could bring that to another time. But I want to look at that. That
Absolutely.
needs to be mandatory.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yep.
So, what is your motion?
So, motion to approve this with the understanding that we will come back and discuss this issue of policy change perhaps. We don't know.
Absolutely. Yep.
I second.
Okay, let's vote. All right, 17I,
29.
page 29.
So if I can hand this off to Mr. Giles and we can talk a little bit about the TRG Land Incorporated for planning and coordination because of our vote last time.
Yes, last time when the E property was brought up and the board voted to not declare a surplus, the request of the board was that we go back and look at what we would need to do time-wise, requirement-wise, cost-wise to use that property for storage. And so Mark Rogers, who was here at one of our study sessions to talk about that property, this is his contract to allow them to go now and explore and analyze if we were to use the E property for storage, what all would we need to do that? What kind of permits, requirements would be required to do? How long would it take and how much would it cost to do that? That's what this is for.
Thank you. So it was just for clarification.
Thank you.
So I move I, 17.
Second.
Let's vote. Okay, 17L.
Okay, and I would like to put 17L, M, N, and S together because I had a question about piggyback contracts. So Mr. Giles again.
Thank you, Ms. Merkin. Sometimes I think everybody lives in my world and I realize they don't, so piggyback. A form of purchasing where a public entity, another school district for example, enters into a contract with a vendor for certain terms and pricing of their products and services. Another public entity is allowed to join that contract or to take advantage of that contract to receive the same prices and terms that the other public entity negotiated. It's really an economy of scale. So for example, if we negotiated a contract with, let's say, Office Max for certain products at certain costs, and they would allow other districts to piggyback that or to also extend those prices to them, that's what a piggyback is. And it works for the vendor because they get multiple districts that will jump on that rather than just us. And it works for us because we get the same prices that somebody else already negotiated for those goods and services. And so if we were negotiating a contract a year ago and then we try to negotiate it today, the terms and conditions might be different. So if somebody else has already done that work, it saves us time negotiating the contract and we take advantage of an already negotiated agreement with probably better terms and conditions than we could do ourselves. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I move L, M, N, and S. Each one separately? Okay. Start with L. We already did that.
Okay, let's vote on, second, motion.
Move 17M.
Okay, 17N.
17N, I move. There you go. 17S, correct? Still there? Move 17S. Okay.
Did you get 17? Yes. Okay. 17X?
Thank you. And 17X, Mr. Giles has asked to do it next. WNX.
Yes, we pulled those earlier and they'll be brought back at the December 17th meeting. The other party is not prepared yet to form the CFD.
So let's hold 17W?
No.
Let's pull it. TV.
Thank you, Madam President. So what we've got in 18D is a request to provide a waiver, a credentialing waiver for a teacher, a bilingual teacher teaching in the dual language immersion program at Roosevelt. He currently has a bachelor's from Cal State San Bernardino and a master's from National and is working toward a BCLAD certification. But the waiver you provided tonight would allow him to continue teaching in the program while he receives that, that certification.
So moved. Second.
Vote. Mr. Johnson. Okay. Hold on, guys. Hold on, everybody. I know you're in a hurry, but the board will reconvene in closed session to discuss unfinished business.
Yeah, please.
Break 5 minutes. Quick.